back to People Junkie, a podcast about people sharing their stories, as everyone has one. And maybe you could connect with someone you never thought you would. Now, if you've been following People Junkie and season one, we so appreciate it. But if you're new, thanks for joining in our season two. And for those of you who are new to People Junkie, I usually share a word or have a word that embodies my guest. And that word today is outrageous. Now, this word has a few definitions, and I'll be using the one that is very bold, unusual, and startling. Now, my guest definitely is all that and more. I'm talking about the one and only Al, quote unquote, Mr. Outrageous Burke. You may know him from the many years he was wrestling in the WWF, or the close to 400 films he's been in, including The Wedding Singer, or the outrageous number of music videos he's been in, including Eminem's Without Me, or Bellyache from Billie Eilish, and many, many more. And you know what? He's also just an all-around great guy who loves animals and also cares for them. Without further ado, I bring you Al Burke.
Hello, hello. Welcome back to People Junkie. And I am here with Mr. Al, Outrageous Burke. So many of you might know him. You know what? No. We won't get to that yet. I'm jumping the gun right here. But Al, thank you so much for joining me and my viewers on People Junkie. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. Nice to see you again, by the way.
I know. You and I definitely have gone way back. And I really appreciate your friendship. You've taught me a lot about the ins and outs of Hollywood. And I really appreciate that. Now, let's, just dive in. Let's talk a little bit about yourself and, where did you grow up?
I grew up mostly in Minnesota, but my dad was racing for Harley Davidson at the time. He was one of their factory racers for motorcycles. And so part of my time I grew up in southern Georgia because he raced a lot of Daytona Beach, which back then there was no raceway. It was the beach. The beach was the main strip and the frontage road was the backstretch. So, but I grew up on the road somewhat. And wild and crazy kid, and some things never change.
I guess not. Now, we'll definitely talk about your Mr. Outrageous in a little bit, but I know you have a background in sports, football, baseball, ice hockey, what have you, right? But how did you get into wrestling? Because I'm going to tell you, that's where a lot of you might know Al is, that's where he got his name, Mr. Outrageous. And we'll talk about how you got your name as well. And as you remember, in the 80s and early 90s, called the WWE, and then it turned into, the WWF, and then it turned into WWE. And for those who are just listening, he's, putting up all the bouts that he's won throughout the years in the WWF and E. So, wow. Okay, stop there. I love the fact that you're showing us, but I want you to definitely talk about how you got into wrestling and the WWE or WWF, now WWE.
Back in the day when I was young, I loved wrestling. I watched it. Then through my teenage years, I did not. I didn't watch it at all. It wasn't part of my life. And I ended up meeting friends meeting Hulk Hogan. Actually went to his apartment. And this was just after he finished Rocky III. He had just come back from Japan. He was wrestling, I believe it was Vern Gagne at the time for one of the 3 times for the championship. I remember him walking out of his bathroom and having to duck to get through the doorway. And I'm just like, whoa, dude, you are freaking big.
That's massive, right?
He was. And and he definitely wasn't the smallest guy out there. Or the biggest.
For those of you who are listening, Mr. Outrageous Al Burke has an amazing t-shirt that has Andre the Giant. And Andre the Giant, was he arrested or was that just made up? Because it looks like a mugshot of Andre the Giant.
It was made to look like a mugshot, just showing his height at 7'5" or 7'6".
Wow.
So that's kind of this, but it was made for a movie. And I remember when I was at the screening of the movie, because I had little parts in there talking about what I had done. And I said to everybody there, it's like, oh, by the way, who got to wrestle Andre here? Oh, just me. Sorry, 2 times. But to step in the ring with a guy that's, over 500 pounds, well over 7 foot. I don't, you can say, oh, the numbers were stretched. Okay, still 7 foot is freaking 7 foot tall. He was a monster, nice guy, sweet guy. But I mean, when I shook hands with him the first time, he buried my hand. I've got pretty good sized mitts, and it was like me shaking hands with a five-year old, 7-year old, something like that. That was the
Mm-hmm.
difference.
Yeah.
But Andre, yeah. So that's kind of one of my claim to fames. I got to face or was in the ring twice with Andre the Giant, which most people can never say that. So I have been very blessed.
Yeah. So you meet, getting back to your story, you
Yeah.
meet Hulk Hogan, this ginormous man, but apparently not compared to Andre the Giant.
Yeah.
And then how does that work? How do you automatically just go into the WWF?
Um, my friends were just all gung ho. They couldn't wait to do it, and I walked away from that meeting going, oh, "This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard." So I did not do it. They went off and they wrestled for a couple of years there, and ended up traveling all over the world. They come back and they tell me straight, "Oh yeah, we're in Hawaii. We're going to Japan. We're going to Europe. We're going here, there." And finally, after a couple of years of listening to their stories, I decided, you know what, this does sound like a good time. And actually, one of my friends at the time was training people in one of the biggest schools in the world at the time, Eddie Sharkey's school in Minneapolis. And his name was Dan Rignati. And he knew my background in boxing, karate, bare knuckle fighting, all that kind of stuff. So he thought, you might be a good fit for professional wrestling. And so I ended up going to school, getting trained, going through all of that. Luckily, because of my background, I had a lot of ring experience already, so I
Hmm.
wasn't new to any of that. And I think it was within about 6 months I ended up having my first match, and about a year after that, um, the one booker out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, contacted me because he knew I had a good grip on the Minneapolis talent, to start booking guys out of there. And I mean, some of our WWF road trips, I would rent 3 vans. We would be jammed full. You know, I think one of them I even had 20 people in it, which was a huge amount. And
20 people in a van. You're talking
well,
about
no,
big
in 3 different vans.
Oh, okay, 3 different vans.
Yeah.
Still, that's a lot of people. And then
Oh,
you guys are not, circus performers. You guys are wrestlers, huge, big, bulky guys.
yeah. And we would smash in and head off on a road trip. And most of our TV tapings for WWF were 3 days. So, they put us up, they covered our expenses and everything. It was really pretty fun. And some of those guys I still keep, phone calls and see them once in a while. And we still laugh about the fun times we had on the road for WWF. But yeah, I ended up outlasting my 3 friends that were in the original part with Hulk at his apartment, outlasting their 3 careers combined. And I did 37 years in the ring. So, um,
Wow. Wow.
luckily I can still walk and halfway talk.
You mean you could chew gum and walk at the same time?
Well, I wouldn't go that far. Yeah, yes, yes.
Now, how did you, before we get into more of the wrestling matches and things of that sort, how did you come up with the name Mr. Outrageous?
I don't know if I can say on here. Is this a kid show?
Obviously not.
um, I was on the road for quite a while. I think I was on a 3-week tour at that time, and I had flown my girlfriend in, and unfortunately, I kept the promoter up all night long. And the next morning that was the most outrageous thing I've ever experienced in my life. And so he ended up giving me the name Mr. Outrageous, and there it is.
And I'm sure it stuck because you're still using it.
Well, and the fun part is I get to do anything out there. I mean, I've come out and wrestled in snakeskin boots and leather pants. I've come out in a body suit for scuba diving, for surfing. I used to come out with a surfboard sometime. I could do anything I wanted as Mr. Outrageous and really had fun doing it.
Yeah, because when you think about it, Mr. Outrageous is all encompassing,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I know how you got it, but you you moved forward and you worked, a lot
Nice
of different
blush.
Actually, it's not blush, but I'm
Oh,
blushing because
no, I see the difference. But go ahead.
Oh, you're hilarious. That's why I had to have you on. People need to hear your story. And one of the reasons that I have People Junkies because I want people to come together because you never know if you're going to relate to someone unless you hear their story, right?
That's very true.
And then sometimes the stories are so outrageous that you're like, no pun intended, by the way.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so talk about, or go more into some of your more memorable matches. You talked a little bit about Andre the Giant and then Hulk Hogan. Go ahead and how did you get those matches? And if you can, also talk about maybe people that you did want to wrestle but didn't.
Sadly, I'll go to the last part first. Hulk
Okay.
Hogan, I would have loved to have stepped in the ring with him. He was a great
Mm,
guy, still is, I'm sure. But he was the top man in the world at the time. I
yeah.
mean, you had the couple of guys in Japan, but Hulk was the the pinnacle of everything. So I would have loved to have stepped in the ring, but I was not qualified, and I knew that. But I got to have big matches with people like the Ultimate Warrior. I did tag, obviously. Well, with Andre, it was him and Haku who were the colossal connection. The
Mm-hmm.
first time I wrestled them, they were not the tag team champions, and then like a month or two later, they had become the WWF tag team champions of the world.
Mm-hmm. I
And
remember that.
I remember the fun part was, and it was a good buddy of mine that was there as my partner, and Haku brought him over the corner. I'm like, nah, I can't. No, I'm sorry. So I left him in there. So I actually never stepped in the ring that match. And the crowd hated me. It was so awesome. I loved it.
Yeah, so that's another thing. Is it better to be the bad guy? Because everyone wants to be the good guy, right?
Well, yes and no. I was always the bad guy. Well, I was for the majority of my career, and I would go in to these small towns where we we're doing tours, and I would, or even if I wasn't there yet, they would put me on the radio so I could call in, or I went to the radio station if I was there locally. And I remember like the cowboy towns, I'd tell them, goat rope and drugstore, pretend cowboys, you better stay home. Because when your little lady sees a real man like me, he's going to leave you in the dust.
Oh!
They would just mention my name and the boos were just, I mean, the building would start shaking. So it's like, yeah, I got them.
Oh, that's
And I
awesome.
would come out and they'd throw stuff and spit at me. And I mean, whatever. So I knew I had done my job. I was the bad boy in town, which was kind of my life anyway. So I had no problem with that. But then, three-quarters of the way through my career, I do a movie called The Wedding Singer, and right after that, every fan changed me to the good guy. I mean, I couldn't do any wrong, and I tried harder and harder, and they were just saying, "Oh no, you're cool, you're cool, you're cool." So I ended up having to become a good guy, which that's the way I ended my career, and it was okay. But yeah, I enjoyed being the bad guy. We didn't have to be friends with anybody. You walk into a bar, and you just you didn't have to talk to anybody if you didn't want to. Good guys, they have to kiss up to everybody, and good for you boys. You're not me.
So there were perks, obviously, of
Well,
being,
perks on both
yeah.
sides, yes.
Okay, all right. So we're gonna get into the wedding singer a little bit later. Talk about how many years you were in the WWF. because I think you retired when it was the WWE. Am I correct?
I never worked in the WWE. I was
Oh,
strictly
okay.
WWF, and I did about 5 years with them. I started in '88 and ended up, I think it was '93 was my last match there. Um, yeah, it was fun. I mean, people said, "Oh, you got your butt kicked every week." Well, these guys are the legends of the world, some of
Mm-hmm.
the biggest guys. And I was there during the steroid boom, which was even bigger. I mean, steroids don't make you taller like Andre, but oh my God, some of these guys. I mean, I got to the point where I was lifting 500 pounds every time. These guys warmed up at 400 and went up to six, that kind of thing. But I had to get bigger or they were sending me home. So I started working hard. I did do a little bit of steroids. I did about a year's worth.
Thanks for
And
being honest about that.
oh yeah. And my bench press went, from just under 400 to 550 within a year. I mean,
Wow.
and for reps, I mean, not just once, I mean, just pounding it out. I've had a picture on social media where I've got, I think it's 680 pounds or 690 or something on the bar. The bar is bending and I'm just doing shoulders. I'm just shrugs.
Now, we did talk a little bit about this when we met up last year. How did steroids affect you? And I was actually, if you, talk a little as much as you want about it, but you did mention that a lot of people, think one way, but, sometimes you don't lose your sex drive. Sometimes you have more of a sex drive. Sometimes, but talk a little bit about that. And did you ever have road rage? I mean, not road rage, but roid rage.
Yeah, well, let me go to the roid rage first.
Sure.
Especially a lot of the guys smoked a lot of pot to keep from doing roid rage
Right? It's like
and
it's a
road
tongue
rage
twister.
too. Yeah, but it's very, very real. I had a guy screwing around behind me. I had my family in the car, and he had a big old pickup truck. I ended up getting out, walking back to him. I never hit him, but I grabbed his wrist, and he hit himself probably 30 times to the face.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
because that
oh,
happens all the time. People
oh,
hitting themselves.
yeah. Well, that's kind of LA. Yeah, that wasn't here, but I remember all of a sudden hearing a horn going off, and it was his head laying on the horn. And all of a sudden, I was like, "Oh shit, I could be in trouble for this." And it was rush hour, cars everywhere, but everybody happened to see what he was doing. Probably nobody called the police. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Wow,
But
wow.
yes, roid rage
The
is real.
WWE gods were looking down at you.
Well, yeah, something was. I mean, but I mean, the interesting part was I didn't really realize anything until I heard that horn going off and I came back to reality. So while I'm hitting him with his own hand, um, and yelling at him, I mean, I'm like, my daughter's in that. I don't. I remember parts of it looking back, but I don't remember even thinking about it when the time when it happened. So um, yeah, at that point, I realized I had to get off steroids. Yeah, the upside, sexual drive was through the roof. You hear a lot of the rumors, oh, you're going to be sterile. Well, like guys like Hercules, who was a big WWF star, I think he had 6 or 7 kids. Like he
Woo!
said, every time I go home, I get the wife pregnant. So,
I wonder why.
sterile? No. Sex drive? Yeah. For me, it was through the roof. That was kind of fun, big ego boost. But also, it wasn't good. And I ended up having to go off. I missed the part. One of the things maybe I didn't or did tell you or didn't. My diet at the time was 15,000 calories a day. I'm
Whoa.
talking 7 full meals plus snacks.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
that's how much energy I was chewing up with that and everything else we did. So yeah, that part was through the roof too. And I kind of miss those days because I could eat anything and not gain an ounce, and everything
Yeah, I'm
just went to
sure.
muscle. Yeah, I know. Now, um, so there were a lot of benefits, but I never was on it that heavy. Some guys, were, 5, 10 times more than I did. I was scared to death of it. It took me probably an hour to do the first needle myself. I don't like needles.
Wow. So we're not recommending it on this show.
No,
We're just talking about your experience with
yes,
steroids.
exactly. And
Okay.
I don't recommend it to anybody. I mean, steroids were originally not maybe not originally, but they're given out to seniors quite often to keep their size and strength up. So if you're giving it to people that are on the weaker side of life to help them maintain something, there must not be a whole lot of bad effects to it if done properly. Now, if you want to, any of your fans, go to a doctor, see what they'll do. More than likely, they will not do it. But I know that in this day and age, um, I think it's testosterone pills is what doctors are giving out, and you see it advertised all the time. I went and got checked, because I had to do all my normal checks, and my testosterone was naturally through the roof. So doctor's like, yeah, yeah, you don't need anything. You could give some half a yours to somebody else and still be normal. But
Wow.
but anyways, yeah, if you're gonna try something, don't do black market. Go to a doctor, see what they'll do. If that doctor doesn't, and you really want to try another doctor, um, um, yeah, it is what I had to do at the time because I needed to be bigger. And at the time, I was probably 230, and I ended up going to 245 and losing probably another 10 pounds of fat. I mean, I was pretty well shredded at the time. I mean, I wasn't quite like Ultimate Warrior, but I was close or closer.
Yeah, I've seen pictures and definitely I'm going to put them up for those who are going to be watching the podcast. Thank you for those, by the way. I appreciate it. And, thank you for being so candid about your experience and things that you've done because, I mean, so many of the wrestlers, they just deny, deny, deny. And now they're like, okay, yeah, we have to come clean. Yeah, absolutely come clean because if you're not honest, you don't get that respect and then you can't go back from that. So I really appreciate you doing that.
Well,
Um,
one of the things I was first taught in wrestling school by my buddy Dan Rignati, who was training me, he told me, "Your word is worth gold
mhm,
until you break it once. Then it's worth nothing ever again." So I always
absolutely.
tried to live by that, and it's like, no, I'll be honest, I'll be truthful. I mean, it hasn't. I mean, it's sometimes not a nice way to do things. I mean, I've had girls when I was dating, and it's like, sorry, I'm not in love with you. You know, boom. You know, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna BS.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna blow smoke up your behind. This is the way it is. Sorry.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, will go, "You're so mean." No, I'm just being honest. I'm sorry. So that's what I try to do. And, for everybody out there, honesty is the best policy. Um, you try not to hurt people and don't do it maliciously, but, it's like, be honest, it's easier, makes life so much easier.
No, absolutely. Now, so many of former wrestlers have gone from the wrestling stage to, the film stage. And, how did you transition? How did you get the part actually for the wedding singer? And for those who don't know, Al Burke was the hero at the end, who pushed the guy that was trying to get in between Drew Barrymore and Adam Sandler's characters, and you push him into the airplane restroom, and Billy Idol's in back of you, like, yeah. I mean, how did that come about? And talk more about how that really changed your life.
I got an audition through my agent, went in, did it. Um, and the funny part was it wasn't reading for Billy Idol as the person, it was David Lee Roth. And that was
Really?
originally the way they were thinking of going.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went in, and the casting director goes, "Great, I loved it. Good news, bad news. I'm going to bring you back on a call back. The bad news is it's in 4 hours back here." Okay, I live like probably 45 minutes from there. It's LA. We drive everywhere. So I went back, and basically, then the director was there and he's like, invade my space and do your part. So I was like nose to nose with him. And there was actually another line in it that we didn't get. But I did it, walked away, and didn't hear anything for I think it was 28 days.
What?
And then all of a sudden
That's a
my
long
agent,
time.
oh, it is. It's a lot longer than normal. My agent calls me and goes, "Oh, you got the part." I'm like, "What part?" At that time I hadn't been out in, probably 10 days. I go, "What part?" He goes, "Oh, the wedding singer." I'm like, "What?" And that night they couriered over the script. So I had special delivery of the script. So I'm reading through and going, "Oh my God, this is such a chick flick." But then I see we change it to Billy Idol. I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool, So I could see, why they went there and stuff. And so yeah, um, it was cool. They had a one of the sound stages over at Universal Studios here in Hollywood that had two airplanes in it. One was ours, the big 747, and the other one was the smaller version, the 727, in one stage. So, and all the lights are all set up, so they don't have to do anything outside, so it looks like we're flying along and, it's just
Hmm.
bright light out there. But it was kind of cool. I walked on stage that day and Adam turns to Billy Idol and he goes, "Oh, there's your bodyguard."
Ah.
So I'm like, okay, this is getting pretty cool. This is the biggest spot I've had in my life at the time. And so um I go and it was one of those days. Here I am dressed in leather vest, Billy Idol t-shirt, leather pants. And actually, I tried on the leather pants and wore them last week for an event, and they still fit. So,
Ah, good for
yay!
you.
Yeah, because that was back in what 94, I think, or 95. I did that. But it was so hot outside that I ended up sitting in the first class section when they weren't filming there because of the air conditioning we had. Because I think it was probably close to 100 that day in LA.
Oh my
And an
gosh.
interesting story, if I can go into quickly.
Oh yeah, yeah, for
Um,
sure. Go ahead.
I'm sitting outside my trailer. My trailer, the window overlooks the clock tower from Back to the Future. So I'm like,
Wow.
oh, this is so
Wow.
cool, so cool. So I'm sitting at a table outside that they had set up for all of us, and I'm filling out my contract for working that day. And the tram goes by and he's talking. Oh, look at that guy. He looks scary. I wonder what he's doing here. And I recall back in my childhood, I was the kid on that tram going by looking at all this stuff. And now I'm on the other side. So that was a real cool moment. It's like, oh my God, I crossed over. Look at me now. And the cool part with the wedding singer, I still get paid residuals for that. I get 4 checks every year, and I have since it came out in '95. I think it was it actually came out.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I'm not getting rich off of it, but it's money I didn't have yesterday, and it easily buys, a nice dinner or something. So that part is very cool.
Yeah, and not only that, that movie just did so much for so many people. It as as a matter of fact resurrected Drew Barrymore and her career. It shot Adam Sandler to, a different sphere. Look at you.
Yeah.
What you've been doing, and I think that's just amazing. Now, talk a little bit more about what you've been doing so far, because here I'm going to give some stats. You've been so far, and I think this may have changed, 398 movies, 69 TV shows, 712 music videos, 108 TV commercials. And again, I think like when I first saw you at the where we met, I was like, oh my gosh, I thought of The Wedding Singer. But then you were also in Eminem's, video Without Me, and also Toby Keith, country music star, and Billie Eilish. I mean, that music video is awesome for Bellyache. Talk about what that means to you. And do you ever look back at your career? I know you're still in your career, but do you ever look back and say, wow, I did all that?
I do. It's kind of like, pinch yourself to make sure you're awake. I have been so blessed. I sat around for many years as an actor, waiting for my agent to get things and realize that's not the right way to do things. I tell the story as a pro wrestler, we had a set amount of money that, either you pay us or we don't go. And so I kind of did that in acting. And I was thinking, you know what? $300 a day, not huge money, but it's, nothing to sneeze at. If you're not going to pay me $300 a day, I'm going to stay in bed. Well, because I've done a lot of seminars on how I get so much work, I tell the story. Guess where I stayed most of the time? In bed. Because
Wow.
even
Wow.
if they were offering 200 or 250, that was beneath me to do anything because I set my limit. So I had to change. And at the time, I had daughters in college. And it's like, you know what? I need money. So I decided that I was taking every job I could get my hands on, whether it paid or not. So I've done a lot of, and not a lot, but a good handful or two of free projects
Hmm.
just to keep working, just to keep seeing, just to get pictures now. I didn't do that in the beginning of my career, but for social media, and we'll go into that later, to help boost that. And to have people, new production crews get to know me. I'm one of those, I don't show up on time, I show up early. Many times in Hollywood, they'll have breakfast for us. And it could be a
Yeah.
6 p.m. call, but that's
Uh-huh.
considered breakfast because that's the start of our day there. So we go on to lunch at like midnight, that kind of a thing. But it's like we're getting fed really well most of the time.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
there's no reason not to be there. Relax, enjoy, and just get your head together for your day of work. So that's kind of my thing. Our saying is, if you're on time, that means you're late.
Yeah, when I went to film school, it was interesting because they had us. I got a scholarship for directing, but then they had us do grip work. They had us do lighting work. They had us do script supervision, and that actually really helped out because I learned so much about the other positions that not only did I have more respect for those who are in those positions, but I had more of an understanding. And as a director, it made me more well rounded. So when you're there on set and you're early, which is mainly what you do, you get to see the ins and outs. Like you said, you get to meet people. And a lot of times, that's such a smart way to diverse yourself in a sense because you're seeing what's really going on, how the magic works.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I've done executive producer, which is the very top dog. I mean, I've been a director and or co-director in a couple of things, but same thing. You have to know what every single person's doing. So if they come to you and say, "Oh, that's something I can't do," "Oh, excuse me, I've done your job. Yes, you can do it now." Yeah, it's a position of power, and you need to be in charge of everybody and make sure everybody's doing their job. If people look at the film crews and say, take whoever, say Clint Eastwood, he uses the same people every time. Most everybody does because they're trusted. You don't have to think, oh, is so and so doing their job? Let me check on this, make sure it's happening. No, these people you trust, and they'll come to you if there's a problem, but otherwise they fix it. And that's what we do. We fix things.
Hmm.
And that's how you get known in Hollywood. So any of you out there wanting to, don't be on time, be early, learn everything you can. And, if they have a problem, say, well, I have a suggestion if you'd like. And especially in the law enforcement part, we'll usually tell them, police wouldn't normally do that, but this is Hollywood, so you can do whatever you want.
Right? You could take
And
creative license.
yeah, and it is creative license. And I've been told, oh no, but it would be such a cool shot. I get it, I get it. I mean, I had one where I'm drifting in my police car, passing an SUV, drifting sideways, SUV driving, and I'm shooting. They want me shooting out the window at them. No, 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 we wouldn't do that. But it'd be a cool shot. I get it. So I did it. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
it was like a Fast and Furious type of thing that they
it
wanted you to do.
was. And it's kind of like the old wrestling world compared to the new. They have to come up with bigger, better things to keep the audience, the fans, coming back. So, if you argue, they'll find somebody that'll do it. It's not that, we're not all invincible, and we're not the only one out there. And I always say, if I'm going to step aside in anything, whether it be acting or wrestling, there were easily 100 guys instantly willing to step into my spot to take it. So, and you'll never get it back. So, do you want to step aside? I didn't.
Yeah, that's right. You have to distinguish yourself from others, right? Because that's what Hollywood's about. What's your niche? Why should I choose you as opposed to someone else? What are you going to bring to the table that no one else could bring to the table? And you're giving such solid advice. There are so many times where I go to these networking events and people are asking for real advice like that, and they get, oh, just believe in yourself. And I'm like, what kind of crap is that? I
Yeah.
mean, shoot, I believe in myself enough to come here to get up to the podium and ask you a question. But obviously, that's not enough. So thank you so much for that. And we'll definitely go more into, the advice that you would give others who want to come into this industry, because it's a really dog eat dog industry. I mean, you've been in it for a while, but it's changed over the years, and you guys are just coming off. And congratulations, by the way. You guys, did a strike. I had solidarity with you guys. I mean, you guys didn't get everything you wanted, but I mean, you really showed the power of what it is to say, hey, you know what? We deserve better. And I really applaud you for that.
The sad part is they're voting no on the strike. That's what they want everybody to do, vote no, or on the
Wow.
settlement. So
Wow.
we're
Wow.
going to go back to strike.
Okay, well, you know what? I'll still be in solidarity with you, because I mean, that's basically the last thing that anyone has, right? Is the strike. I mean, I am not in that industry the way you are, so I don't know all the ins and outs. But it'd be definitely interesting to talk about. All right, Al, you've been such a great sport, talking a lot about, your past and, your time in the WWF. And you were just, getting into what you've done in film and television and things of that sort. Now, I want to get into one of your, I call it alter ego, and that's Punchy the Clown. Please talk about that, what it's about, how it came about, and all that good stuff.
Uh, I was not familiar with the Killjoy series. I had heard of it, but knew nothing about it. And a director friend of mine, I've been in every one of his movies so far.
Wow.
And he calls me up and says, I've got this movie, Killjoy, and I've made this character, Punchy the Hobo Clown. Would you play him for me? And I'm like, yeah, I know nothing about him, but sure. So, the very first one, we flew to Hong Kong, took a train into China, and filmed in Guangzhou, China, in Ace Studios over there. So we made um, the debut for Punchy, Freak Show, and Batty Boop. All were created, and that was our first spot. And so that was kind of cool, kind of iconic. The guy who owned it, I will say, is not well trusted. It took me
Hmm.
over 6 months after I got home to finally get a check.
Oh, wow.
I took that check, which was written on a certain bank, to that bank, and they go, "Oh, we're going to charge you no, 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 no. I'll open an account. How's that?" And
Oh
I
my
let it sit in the
gosh.
account for a year just to make sure nothing happened.
Oh my
So,
gosh. So talk a little bit more, like, because you tend a lot of times to play cops, right?
yes.
That's, your niche. You've played, other types of things, but cops seem to be your niche. So how did you go from being this, masculine cop and I'm gonna, get the bad guys, to a crazy wacko Punchy the Clown?
The director, John Lachago, knew my whole background, and I also knew about the pro wrestling. And part of his thing, and we brought it in the was the Killjoy 4, where I brought 25 wrestlers in. all at once, fighting in Freddy Krueger's old boiler room
Oh,
at the Linda
wow.
Vista Hospital. And the thing he likes about us is we don't, in stunts, you miss by this much. We don't miss. We hit each other. That's what we do.
Yeah.
So there's never a bad angle, never, oh, if that didn't work, I could tell it was a miss. No, we hit. And even the girls I brought in were wrestlers. And yeah, we were just throwing down on each other. But um, being able to get a part written for you. And then I always thought of, Punchy the Clown, because the hobo, it was explained to me, is the lowest form of clown. There's a hierarchy,
That's
and the
interesting.
hobo is the lowest. So I played him as dumb, stupid, and and the director's like, oh no, 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 no. You're not dumb. You're working your way up the hierarchy. And
Hmm.
so that became interesting. But another thing that benefited me, because in pro wrestling, we speak what's a language called Carney. Pro wrestling started in the carnivals way back in, whatever, 50s. And that was the language they spoke in carnivals. So, a regular person wouldn't know what we're saying and we would be talking right about you.
Wow, because yeah, that's your jargon, right?
Yeah. So I was able to speak Carney because of my pro wrestling. So everything was written for me that I had to translate into Carney, and which isn't easy, especially trying to memorize the line and then keep the memory and then go into the Carney part of it.
Hmm.
Um, but anyways, the very last line I have in Killjoy 3 was in English. So it's the first time Punchy got to speak English. So
Whoa. What do you mean? So Punchy was written in another language?
in Carney.
Oh, okay, I get it. Okay, Cardi,
Okay.
got it. Okay.
No, the funny part was it was Killjoy Goes to Hell,
Hmm.
Killjoy 4, um, that I was on the stand, because basically Killjoy gets taken to court in hell. The devil is the judge. Yeah.
Wow.
So I have to I'm on the witness stand, so I have to basically do a monologue in Carney. So I had to write out boards, and I could read and translate quick. I can't memorize and translate at all. For some reason that doesn't work. But
Hmm.
anyways, I'm talking in Carney, and Killjoy turns and goes, I don't understand a word you're saying. Well, the mime freak show starts miming it. And so that's kind of the joke of the whole thing there. But anyways, yeah, I speak Carney until Psycho Circus, and then most of my stuff is in English at that point. I threw out a little Carney, but yeah, it was something extra I got to add in, and it was fun. Yeah, getting to play something different. I had my head cast before, so they made a mask for me, and I've actually got three different masks from 3, 4, and 5. In Killjoy 3, it's a two-piece mask. So all over here, and then the one piece for the mouth and the chin. So I could actually move. Well, that didn't work very well because number one, I wouldn't shave this because I get a lot of work for that.
So, for those of you who aren't looking but are listening to the podcast,
Oh,
he has. Is that considered a handlebar mustache that you have?
handlebar or
Okay,
Fu Manchu.
Fu Manchu. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So, and this gets me a lot of work as a cop. I mean, probably three-quarters of my jobs are as a cop in Hollywood. So that's my bread and butter. So I can't, I've shaved it, one other time, and, shaved it up once. But anyways, yeah, so that was a problem. So then we went to a complete slip over mask, which I have number 4 and number 5 for. And Punchy's actually maybe going to be coming out in a movie. We haven't filmed it yet, but Punchy's coming out as a wrestler and facing another wrestling punchy type of clown. So
Wow.
yeah.
So you come
Anyways,
full circle. It's
well,
come full circle.
I'm working on it, and I want to bring Punchy back. The
Hmm.
owner that owns Killjoy's whole series does not like Killjoy at all.
Oh.
He didn't create it. He bought it being shot as Killjoy 1, or the first Killjoy. So it's not his baby. He's made a lot of money off of
Mm.
but he doesn't like it. So there will never be, I guess, a Killjoy 6. So,
Wow.
but I have the rights because John LaChaga was never required to sign over the rights of the creatures he created, as in Punchy. So he's given me the okay to go wherever I want and do whatever I want with them.
That's amazing. And I know that you have taken Punchy around and that's something. Do you want to show us something?
No.
Okay.
Uh,
So for those that are going to be watching the podcast, we will be putting up some pictures that Al has so graciously given to us to share. So I appreciate that. Now, going from, being a cop and these movies and then Punchy, and then in 2015, what happened where I believe you went to Uganda and you filmed, it's called King of Darkness, and it was a faith-based horror film. So please talk about what that genre is. Is it like the Exorcist type of film? Is that what that faith-based horror is about?
I mean, actually, most all horror is somewhat faith-based. This one is
Yeah.
a lot stronger faith-based because
Okay.
the Machine Gun Preacher, for any of your listeners out there, viewers, have seen the Machine Gun Preacher movie starring Gerard Butler. I'm actually
Mm.
friends with the real
Yeah.
Machine Gun Preacher. And, being a minister, he wanted to do movies. And one of the things when he approached me about directing this movie in Uganda, his line to me was, "You're not just going to change people, you're going to change the nation." And I
That's
thought, wow,
interesting.
that's very big. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what he's trying to do. Sadly, and I did warn him ahead of time, the King of Darkness is completely done. I had a guy,
Yes.
typical Hollywood story, jerk me around for almost 2 years and never had one sale. So a lot of this and didn't get much done. So I finally found him. I served him papers saying our contract is done because he made the
Wow.
contract and there was no expiration date, which apparently isn't legal in California anyways. But nevertheless, I was not going to do one thing until I actually served him papers saying our relationship is done. We are no longer. And so I was able to do that. Now I'm busy doing other things, trying to find other avenues. But I guess I'm going to say, I warned the Machine Gun Preacher, we do not have any stars. In Hollywood, you have to have stars to sell your movie.
Yeah.
And he says, "Look, don't worry
Unfortunately.
about it." I used all people from Uganda. Only one of those people was white. He was actually from Ireland, married a Uganda girl. And all of us know vampire movies
Hmm.
that vampires were mostly white. So I had to
Oh
have a
yeah.
white guy biting a black guy to spread it
Wait,
throughout
there was
Uganda.
there was Blade,
The-
but I think Blade did, yeah, wasn't he
Not Blade, but there
yeah,
was a couple there.
yeah.
Bloodsucker or something like that. So there were a few,
Yeah,
but
but
I
I
had
know
to
what you're
tell
saying.
the story to the whole world that
Yeah.
if this is an American type of film, a vampire needed to be white. And he was a very well trained actor and a lot of fun to work with. And so, but yeah, I went to Uganda, directed a movie. It was actually a 13-day shoot that it was scheduled, and I did it in 12. So difficult. One of the fun parts, we stayed in this town in the middle of Uganda that they turned the generator on, fuel power generator,
Hmm.
10 o'clock in the morning and shut it off at basically 9 or 10 o'clock at night.
Wow.
We had no power, so you have no refrigeration. So everything that you're going to eat meat wise has to be killed that morning.
Wow.
So
So that's like
yeah,
fresh food, the
oh,
freshest
very,
you're gonna
very
have.
fresh. Um, a lot of things. I mean, the first time I was at the farm before I directed the movie, one of the goats had got out, and we were just pulling into the farm. Sam owns back then it was a little less than 1,000 acres. I think he's bought more now.
Hmm.
But they says, "Oh, the goat got it." He goes, "Oh, go get it." All of a sudden, I hear the truck coming back, and you hear, "Bah, bah, bah." So the goat comes back, and then Sam goes, "Guess what's for dinner?"
Well, you know what? I have a funny story for you on that. So, we Mexicans tend to play with our food as well. And for one of my cousin's confirmation, we had a goat in the backyard and we're like all playing with it, having a good time. All of a sudden we look, we're like, where's the goat? And then here's the plate.
Yeah.
So I know exactly what you're talking
Well,
about.
it's a quick reality check. It's like, okay, am I going to starve? I'm in Africa. I mean, at least you were somewhere at home or at relatives. It's like, no, I'm thousands of miles away and I'm not going to starve. So I guess I'm eating goat tonight.
Yeah. Wow. So yeah, continue.
But anyways, yeah. So, um, this farm was developed for the kids that were in the orphanages because at the age of 14 or 15, I'm not sure which, they are kicked out. Well, most of the kids in the orphanages are there because they don't have family. Their family was killed.
Oh my God.
Many of Sam's rescues are kids that were taken by the warlords, especially Joseph
Wow.
Kony. If
Wow.
everybody remembers back in, I think it was 2012, there was a
Mm-hmm.
campaign
Yeah.
against him. Sam has some of his kids that he's rescued that were
Wow.
child soldiers that he's now on the farm. They learn livestock, agriculture, planting things and also building. This piece of land had nothing on it. Sam came in, put a borehole, a well, so we always had fresh water. I think there's two of them there.
Yeah.
And they now have built a two-story, I think, eight-bedroom house there that's top quality.
And before we move forward, I would like for people to know how to reach you, Al. If you can give out all your social media, everything of that sort, so people can reach out to you, just say hi or just look at the stuff that you've done.
The best thing for fans is Instagram, and it's Al Burke 4782. So it's ALBURKE 4782. And I believe in that profile picture, I'm holding a baby tiger
Yes, we'll
on,
definitely get into that.
because I get to work with animals and they're awesome. But anyways, that's my biggest thing. Little bit on that. I try to keep up with everybody, but right now I just dropped under 100,000 followers.
Oh,
So I have
okay.
99,000.
Hey,
Uh,
that's a great number. That's my favorite number, but we want to make sure that you get past that threshold.
well, I was for a bit. Now I've dropped back for whatever reason. But we mentioned Billie Eilish earlier. I think I got 10 to 15,000 followers when I did her video from her fans all over the world.
Wow,
And one of
yeah.
the cool things was her fans made artwork, and not all of them, but many of them, and I maybe like 50 of them
Oh,
made
wow.
artwork, and I posted each and every piece that they did and gave them a shout out. So I
That's
try to give
awesome.
back to the fans. But like Cardi B, I think I got like 8 or 10,000 of her followers when I did her album cover for press. So different things, that are on the Instagram part. I mean, I know a lot of are over on TikTok, but I haven't gone there because I don't see that benefits me at all. And
No,
I'm
I
a
understand that.
TikToker kind of person. But anyways, yeah, Instagram is the best way to get me.
Would you ever direct again? And is there something in the making, or because of the rules right now, you can't talk about any future projects?
I would direct again. That is not my passion. I called a meeting with all the actors in Uganda. Had them all sitting there and go, now I know why everybody hates actors. I hate all of you. You're lazy. You show me you want to go to Hollywood. Who wants to go to Hollywood? And everybody, me. I go, show me you really want to go. Well, that day was a great day for the product. The next day, lazy. So
Talk about your. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, that was it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Real quick, talk about your passion for animals and, things that you want people to know, like how to volunteer, anything like that. And then talk about what the future holds for Mr. Outrageous, aka Albert, or vice versa.
Yeah. Animals, I've always had a cool relationship with animals. So, everybody's like, oh, you're the animal whisperer. And I've gotten to cast in a lot of roles where I've got to work with different cool things from elephants, full grown mountain lion, things like that, right down to mice and to snakes, things like that. So um I I have a good rapport, I guess you'd call it, with them. But directors are so clueless, and they're like, "Oh, I need the dog right now." Well, no, let me get the dog up here. Let me, get settled with the dog, and then we'll give you your shot. And I had one where, he was just, you got to do it right now. I'm like, give me time. I got the dog in there. The dog's looking this way. The camera's right here. Here, I'll go like this. The camera's right where this is. The dog goes, got your shot. 45 seconds. You're welcome. Let me work with the animals. But even like a mouse, he wanted me to tie the string to the mouse's leg so it wouldn't run away. Like,
Oh,
oh no, it'll just kick. That's something foreign. Well, glue it on there or something. No, let me do my job.
wow.
Same thing. I think it was 2 or 3 minutes. Had the shot. End of story. It's like, let me do my job with my animals. And I did have somebody call and say, "Oh, we've got a cat. We understand you're really good with. Can you come train it? Because we got to shoot with it in a couple of hours." Like, no, no, it doesn't work that way. Sorry. And I'm not going to put myself in a position where the poor animal is going to be, so out of sorts that it can't do anything. Now, I did do one video, and I was trying to be nice to the cat holding it because it was in the shot with me, and it got mad and clawed me. I'm like, just like the mama would, right by the scruff of the neck, and that's how I held it for the shot. And I was like, "Here's your cat." But that was in the shot, and it's like, no, I'll be nice, but if you're not going to be nice, we go to the next step. I'll
Oh,
treat you
yeah.
like your mama did.
Mm-hmm.
Been blessed to do that kind of stuff too. I actually had one where I had a live possum on my shoulder, and we were in a crowded elevator. And possums are nocturnal, so they don't like being awake during the day, and we're shooting daytime. So I would sit there and you hear, and
Oh.
everybody else is like, okay. And, and the elevator's packed and everybody's trying to get away. And so I moved back, put its butt against the back of the elevator, leaned my head against it, and then it settled down. And, same thing, we got the shot. So it's one of those fun things. And, they always say, don't work with kids and don't work with animals. I'll take
Yeah.
them anyway because I hate actors.
Oh, I wish I could talk to you, for 2, 3 hours, which we've done before, which we'll do again. But I really appreciate, you being on here, taking time out of your busy schedule. I still want you to answer the question as to what the future of Mr. Outrageous Burke, what the future holds for you. And yeah, go ahead.
I have a couple of meetings coming up for the King of Darkness. I can't say with who, but very, very huge Hollywood stars. Um, I'm hoping that they will have connections. I'm playing, I'm not trying to be prejudiced, but I'm playing the black card. I'm going to the black people that I know because, Uganda is black. And
Hmm.
that's kind of my problem selling this movie. But as soon as this movie sells, I go right back to Uganda and direct another one.
Well, there you go.
Um,
Representation. That's what
yeah,
it's about.
but I want to go back there. My reward on the last one was to go on safari, but not to shoot a gun, to shoot my camera and take photos. So I got to get out and I was walking up to elephants that were walking up to me. We didn't get too close because I hadn't made friends with them yet,
Hmm.
but that's kind of my future right now. And then I just love working. So I take all these little jobs and things like that and just enjoy.
Well, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time, everyone. We had the pleasure of watching and listening to Mr. Outrageous Burke. Please follow him on social media, get him past that 100,000 mark. You can see him on videos and film and television. And I just can't say enough about you. Thank you for showing off your belts for those who are watching. You got to see them. For those who are listening, what are you doing? Go ahead and watch it as well. But thank you so much for your time. Have yourself a great rest of your day. And ciao for now, Mr. Albert.
Thank you. Lovely seeing you again. And I want to see you again soon.
We will, I promise. Bye
Okay.
bye.
Bye.
Oh, wow. That was another great podcast in the books with Mr. Al, quote unquote, outrageous Burke. Well, thanks for joining People Junkie. Make sure to check us out on all our social media platforms where you can watch us. But if you're on the go, no worries. You can also listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Now, remember, whatever you do or wherever you go, put a smile on your face. You never know whose day you'll make. Ciao for now.